Morning, all. Welcome to Protected List Eve. Right. So the panic, the panic is the panic has gone up among fans right now, and I have to say, teams are only going to lose one player. That's it, and nobody's losing a superstar player. So while we may have some attachment to players that may end up leaving teams that we cheer for, uh, do not overpay to make sure that Seattle doesn't take a certain player. General managers are facing this again, the same thing they faced in 2017. And you have to think that no matter how clear they were after what Vegas did on we're not doing that again. Nope, we're not going to get that going again. We're not going to give up two or three assets in order to keep one. That just didn't make any sense. And we gave up a future asset for a current one, and it looks bad. Now we're up against it, and there are teams that I think are in danger of maybe overpaying. So the Penguins. We'll start off with the Penguins and the speculation on their list. They just re-signed Teddy Bluger. So apparently they're going to protect Teddy Bluger, which is good because my jersey from Cool Hockey with Bluger on the back just shipped. So it would be shame if he became if he became Seattle property before I actually get the jersey. That's just cruel. So he's my favorite Penguin. What can I say? So Bluger apparently will be protected along with Crosby, Malkin, no surprise there. Jake Gensel, also no surprise. McCann, Rust. So those are the most likely right there that they're not going anywhere. Which then means one of the following would get protected. Jeff Carter, you don't need to protect Jeff Carter. Carter had a great run with Pittsburgh. Carter will just threaten to retire. And there are other options for Pittsburgh that they can choose from. So, to me, I would put Carter under the don't need to worry about protecting him. But Kapanen, Tanev, or Zucker, which one do you protect? So if Bluger's one of the forwards getting protected, of Kapanen, Tanev, and Zucker, which one do you protect? Personally, I would protect Tanev, but it's possible that with the price they paid for Kapanen from Toronto, they may want to keep Kapanen, and Brandon Tanev would be a perfect pickup for an expansion team. I know that contract's not fantastic, but it's not like Seattle right now doesn't have cap room. So, yeah, we'll see when the lists come out who Pittsburgh protects. On the Montreal front, Philippe Danault will not be among their protected. He is headed to the market. No close to a contract discussions between Montreal and Danault. Now, it's possible that after the expansion draft is finished, that they circle back and they figure something out. But for right now, yeah, Danault is headed to market. He may end up getting overpaid. I remember way back in the day when Bobby Holik got overpaid. The thing is, Danault only had 5 goals this year. I don't know how much he could get overpaid. I don't know if his asking price is too high. I don't know if Montreal is looking at their cap situation and saying we don't want to spend too much on Danault because of other players that are going to come up later. Either way, we'll see how it works, because if they lose Danault, that's a huge blow to the Montreal Canadiens. You have to have that shutdown center. He won so many key faceoffs in those playoffs. There were so many big moments in their own zone that it was Danault that was thrown on the ice. Without him, I don't know what you do, because Suzuki, I love Suzuki. He doesn't win faceoffs often enough. Danault does. So you need somebody in that role. Maybe Brandon Sutter, who's making his exit from Vancouver and could likely be had for cheap. Maybe that's the kind of player. Sutter can be decent on the faceoffs. So just throwing that out there. Apparently, in looking at what it would take for Seattle not to take Jake Allen, the answer is Mark Bergevin's firstborn, or a top prospect and a second or third round pick. So not both, but a second or a third round pick and a top prospect, or a second and a third. Second or a third. I knew I was going to have that problem. It's a second or a third, not both. And a later pick or first round pick. So their first round pick is number 30 overall. And this is where I say, yet again, you don't want to overpay to keep a player. So they brought in Jake Allen in part because of the expansion draft they knew was coming up. And I think Jake Allen ending up in Seattle makes a lot of sense. So the price for Seattle not to take Jake Allen is pretty high, and rightfully so. Allen had a good year for Montreal. He'd be a solid goaltender for Seattle to start out with as a 1A, 1B. And, yeah, so understandable that Ron Francis would be like, if I'm not going to take the best player, you're giving me a pretty solid return for that. Speaking of expansion, the Vancouver Canucks are leaning towards Cole Lind being protected. Holtby has been drawing some interest. I wouldn't think Holtby's going anywhere until after the expansion draft, which means that Seattle may end up taking Holtby. The interesting part of that is that teams are wanting Vancouver to retain salary. So the cap hit is, I think, $4.5 million, right? But his actual salary is $5.7 million. So teams aren't wanting to pay him $5.7 million. So Vancouver may have to retain. And yes, there will be Ken Holland jokes in the comments under this video. I'm well aware. And Edmonton needs a goaltender, right? So I'm sure there will be those that say Holland won't worry about retained salary. But in this case, I think he might. And the interesting part, too, is now Vancouver is apparently looking heavily at Jaden Schwartz. Between Schwartz and Zach Hyman, I would think Schwartz probably be a little bit cheaper of the two. The problem, of course, is Schwartz tends to miss a lot of time, and he's a better playoff performer than he is a regular season performer. The Canucks need to get to the playoffs. I don't know that Schwartz helps them get there. So the other part of this is that it's come out from Alex Edler's agent today that Edler is headed to market, that the talks between themselves and the Canucks have not been fruitful, and so Alex Edler is going to hit the market, which I'm okay with as a Canuck fan because, you know, I love Edler, but it's time for him to go to Tampa. It feels like they all go to Tampa. Salo went to Tampa, Oland went to Tampa, Luke Shen, briefly a Canuck, goes to Tampa. So, yeah, Alex Edler probably headed to Tampa, I would think. And it just seems to be where all the defensemen go when they're done with Vancouver. Off to Tampa. Why? That's where they all go. So we'll see. Now, on the New Jersey front, with the acquisition last night, their blue line, they're likely to protect Severson, now Graves, and Siegenthaler, who they re-signed as well, which would mean that Subban, Butcher, Murray would be among the exposed. Murray is a pending UFA. Subban is a fascinating potential Seattle team member in that he's very well known publicly. His contract is $9 million, which is ridiculous, but it's only got the 1 year left. So for Seattle, they may very well be able to eat that cap space up with Subban's contract for a year, sign him to an extension for a lot cheaper, and you know, maybe Subban becomes the first captain for Seattle, right? Does Seattle do the opposite of Vegas? Do they have a captain right out of the gate? What's Ron Francis? What's his opinion on that going to be? So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that expansion draft and who goes and who stays, and whether or not New Jersey gets out from under the last year of PK Subban's contract. Personally, of the three, Subban's a fascinating prospect. I do wonder, and I just mean prospect of being drafted, not prospect like young kid prospect. But Butcher, the offense is still there. His numbers haven't been bad, so we'll see. But yeah, so New Jersey among the teams that are going to be fascinating to watch tomorrow, with everybody else that's eligible for this expansion draft. All 30 protected lists are going to be a lot of fun to go over. Sad news today. WHA co-founder Dennis Murphy passes away at 94 years of age. Of course, I did the playlist on the WHA, its formation, its seasons, on all of the movement that went on. The players that make all this money, like Subban with $9 million and Holtby $4.5 million, a lot of the sudden explosion in money that happened in the hockey world was a direct result of the WHA coming in, and liberal movement of players that came through the WHA as well, and the idea of putting hockey into brand new markets and trying it in areas that it hadn't been before. Again, the WHA was the league that spearheaded that. So, and they forced the NHL to try non-traditional hockey markets because WHA was going to take them. So, the WHA, while it was a hated foe of the NHL, I think the players really appreciated the WHA. That was a quote about Dennis from his son too, saying that he felt like the players really liked him, the owners didn't. So, because he kept driving their costs up and challenging their basically what we have with no movement clauses now. That's nothing compared to how hockey used to be. The team that drafts you owns you, and that's it. There is no unrestricted free agency. There is no freedom of movement. It doesn't exist until the WHA fought it, and a judge said, yep, nope, that's the NHL can't really do this. That's not right. So, yeah, the WHA, as I said, I've done the playlist on the WHA. I may be able to do a few other videos on the WHA during this offseason. It's an entertaining topic. It is a very entertaining topic. And, Dennis Murphy, a big part of the fun that was and created that environment. So, my condolences to his friends and family. And again, if you haven't checked out the WHA videos, they're a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun putting those ones together. The New York Rangers made news yesterday signing Julien Gauthier to a one-year extension on his contract. Gauthier, 2016 first-round pick. We'll see where he slots into their lineup. He's not going to be... I can't see him being a pick for Seattle in the expansion draft. So, we'll see where Gauthier slots into their lineup. This coming Wednesday at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern, 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific, the expansion draft will be taking place. The Seattle Kraken have posted places where you can watch this live. So check that out on their official Twitter account. And it should be a lot of fun. We will have a live stream here as well for the unveiling of the players. And again, I'll make my predictions after we've seen the protected lists. And it's going to be a lot of fun to see exactly how the expansion draft turns out and who Seattle takes and which surprises we see amongst the Seattle picks, right? So, that's this coming Wednesday. And coming back on that, the Calgary Flames have been reportedly working on trying to keep Mark Giordano as a member of the Flames. They don't want to lose him. This is where you don't want to overpay either. Seattle, understanding that Giordano could be an attractive piece at the trade deadline if they're not in the playoff hunt. If they are, he could be an important leader for this team on the blue line as well. So you got Giordano, you could potentially have Subban. Salary cap could be a problem if you're bringing in that many veterans with heavy contracts, but we'll see. But Giordano, they've been working the phones on trying to keep him, apparently, and the asking price is high. Ron Francis, the asking prices have been high. Once the protected lists go in, that's it. Like, there are no trades. There's a roster freeze that goes into effect. So any teams looking to make moves, they have to make them before they submit the protected lists. So we may see trades today and tomorrow, but only until that protected list is submitted. And so there are definitely some phones that are burning up today as GMs try to make moves, reportedly Vancouver amongst them, trying to make trades and figure out how this is going to work before expansion. But we will see, because again, with the Giordano situation, to me, that's a classic. You don't want to overpay. You don't want to be giving up a first-round pick and then something else in order to keep Giordano for one more year when I believe he turns 38 in October. So you got to be careful. You have to have an eye towards your future. It would be a rough way to end Giordano's career as a member of the Flames if he was taken by Seattle in the expansion draft. And it would be weird to me only because I thought Shillington would be the better pick. Of the two, I think Shillington, he's young, his contract's reasonable. I would honestly be kind of surprised if they did draft Giordano, but if there's this much smoke, then there's fire, and they're definitely looking at taking Giordano. So it will be very interesting to see how many veterans go to the new team and which teams make those trades today or tomorrow, or, I guess if it doesn't involve roster pieces, you can make the deals between the 18th and the 21st when Seattle makes their pick. So you could go to Seattle and say, here's a first round pick and a fifth round pick for draft considerations. That kind of trade would be allowed by the NHL. There's no roster moves there. And then you know who they're going to take, or you know who they won't take, right? There's going to be a lot of discussions about that. Let me know in the comment section below how you feel about this. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing right through. You just happened upon this video. And don't forget, we also have the entry draft coming up. So right quick after this happens, 2 days after this happens, on that Friday, we have the entry draft, which is round 1, and then rounds 2 through 7 are on Saturday. There will be a live stream on the channel for both the first round on Friday and for the 2nd through 7th round on Saturday. And then we will have a live stream again on July 28th when we get into free agency. So over the next 12 days, a lot of players are going to find new teams. A lot of them. It's going to be a ton. So I'm looking forward to it. It might be the busiest the NHL's been, I'm going to say ever, only because of how many moves haven't happened over the last 16 months the GMs might have been looking at, and now they get them done. Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happen upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.